Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with another video on Gran Turismo 7 and we're back with a race guide and a very fun race at Daily Race Seat at Spa in the Mazda. So the Mazda RX Vision is the go-to car for this week's race because it is a fuel saver. So if you're going to be doing this race, don't be using the RCZ and going flat out and pitting, because the pit lane loss is around 28 to 30 seconds worth of loss of time with fuel, and that is going to put you dead last in the race if you do that strategy. The best way to do it is get in the Mazda RX Vision and fuel save this. So I'm going to give you some tips in terms of what to do for fuel saving. So straight away, get it in mixture 6 for the rolling start. That's going to save a tiny bit of fuel. It might sound stupid, but every little bit of fuel that you can save and get that mixture working for you is going to be beneficial all the way to the end. So yeah, we're starting from P14 in this race, and we're going to see if we can go for that podium, or even maybe, you know, better than that, like we did at Brands Hatch. So with this strategy, it's going to be important to save fuel when you can, and also use some fuel to overtake cars whenever you can. So straight away, mixture 1 just here, but you're going to see short shifting very early. So on the straights, you're going to see as the rev counter builds up, we're hardly ever going to see the rev counter above by where the miles per hour is there. You're only going to see very tiny amounts of red appear, really, because we're going to be fuel saving. And with the Mazda, this car actually accelerates pretty well when you short shift it, and that is one reason why this car is really, really good on fuel. Now, it's also very good on fuel anyway, because it's an overpowered car when it comes to fuel saving. I'm sure that it will get BOP'd. Well, I hope it will get BOP'd, but with PD, you never know. But now we're going to work our way onto the straight. You can see getting the slipstream from P12 in front of us. And now we're going to go for a move straight away. Now, sometimes you might want to just fuel save, but with this race starting from the back, I want to get as far forward as I can. So we're going to actually go for an overtake here. Use a bit of fuel up. Now, this is going to burn some fuel. So we're going to go into mixture 3 once we've got that overtake in the inside line. And we're going to save some fuel through this corner. See, making sure we get through there in P12. And P11 having a bit of an issue in front of us. The driver in front of us, we had a bit of an issue with him in the previous race. He was a little bit lacking awareness, I think. I don't know if he's particularly dirty, but he seemed to lack a little bit of awareness. So what I decided to do was not take too much risks behind him. Now, one thing I could tell straight away behind this guy was that he was revving that car out. Now, if you're revving out the Mazda, it's not going to save fuel, and you're going to have to pit. So I'm just going to sit behind, save my fuel. You can see mixture 2 and 3 through some of these corners. You probably mixture 2 if you get the fuel saving perfect. Now, if you're starting at the front of the grid, now I have done this strategy from the front, you pretty much only use mixture 1 and 2, maybe 3 through some of the corners, and just short shift it. You don't really need to use much of mixture 3. But when you're in this situation that we're in now, there's just no point using mixture 1 or 2 and short shift. You might as well just short shift in mixture 3, because we're stuck up behind him. Might as well save some fuel. We're in that slipstream. And then as soon as we get on the straight, we'll just go back to mixture 1 like we are now. So for this power section, this is where you want to be in mixture 1 and just short shift while you're in the slipstream, because if you're in mixture 3 and 4 at this point, you're going to lose a bit of pace. Now, we've got a car up ahead of us with a penalty, so that is going to be another position gained, and we're now up into P11. Now, one thing you want to do is when you're getting to higher speeds, sometimes is actually get it up to mixture 2 and 3 like I've done here. So once we're in the higher speed zones, mixture 2, then mixture 3, because you won't actually lose that much pace once you're up to a certain speed, and it will just help save a little bit more fuel. So you'll see me doing every now and then mixture 1 at the early part of the acceleration, and then back up to mixture 2 and 3 for the end when the car's, you know, reaching a bit of a higher speed. It's just going to help you save that little bit extra fuel. You've got to keep an eye on your fuel, remember, because you've got to get this all the way to the end. At the moment, I'm a little bit behind in this race. You can see I'm just following behind P10, but I'm trying to push forward at the same time as saving fuel. So what we're trying to do here is get as far forward as we can, because there will be other people in this race doing a no-stop strategy, because this was on Monday night, quite late on. A lot of people knew the strategy, some reasonably decent drivers on the grid at the moment. And yeah, I was also very tired at this stage, because we had just had a very, very intense manufacturers race. So I think this was the last race we did of the stream, so the pace wasn't quite there. When we did it from the front, we were doing much better overall pace, but this race was a little bit more enjoyable to watch, so I thought I'd do the guide while giving you some entertainment to watch as we go for another position there, up into P10, another driver with a penalty. I've seen quite a few people getting track limit penalties on this track, and I honestly don't know where they're getting them from, because I found the track limits pretty good, unless they're getting contact penalties also. It could be that, as James Hunt in front of us there, a little bit aggressively, a little bit of contact with P9, and this is why I didn't want to get too involved with him. It was a little bit, there was a lot of contact whenever you were near him, so we're just staying back from him and just playing this quite safe, because we don't want to get any penalties, we don't want to get shoved off the track. And yeah, we're going to go again into the slipstream of P9 now. I'm probably trying to go for a move on him as P8 goes a little bit wide there. Them two are going to go side by side down here. So again, I'm just going to save fuel. You can see short shifting very early now and just save my fuel and just see what happens between them, because it's not really worth getting right up behind them, because if there's an incident and they spin, and they could end up taking us out. So again, just hanging back a bit. Now we got the run on P9 and we're going to see if we can go for a move into the braking zone. So we've got a slipstream, and again, you're going to see me go into mixture 3 once I've got that speed built up, but I wanted to get this overtake done, so we fake it to the left, over to the right hand side, he goes to the left, that gives us the inside line, now into mixture 3, and again into the fuel saving process and another position gain, so up into P9. Now I actually think this race would have been a lot more entertainment, a lot more fun if you had to use medium and hard tyres and actually force you to pit, because I feel with the race as it is at the moment, it's just a little bit of a static, you know, it's a fuel saving race. They're not always the most entertaining. I would have much preferred the race to be a bit like Daytona, where, you know, you could pit and fuel save, or you could do a no stop, or, you know, there was different ways of doing it. But this one, it's just a bit boring. There's no pit stops. It's just a case of driving around with fuel saving. It's a little bit of a static race. I think that PD hopefully are just trying to get data for stuff at the moment with regards to BOP. So hopefully once they've got all that information, we'll start getting some more enjoyable daily races. But we have to work with what we've got. So working our way down the straight again, we're getting close to P8. You can see there, he's got a penalty though, so he's going to have to take that at the end of the lap. So we want to get past him now. So he's having a little bit of a bad exit from the corner where he had dirty tyres. We're going to go to the left-hand side of the track, and again, use mixture 1 to make sure we're past him, and then we're going to go up into that higher mixture towards the end of the straight there, just to save that little bit of fuel again into the braking zone and down to 3rd gear. Now, one thing with this car is you do want to try and use high gears. You can see myself in 4th gear a lot of the time and going through the corners in the high gears as we have a little look at the replay camera, and you can see we're right in the middle of 2 cars here. We've got 2 cars in front of us, we've got a car right behind us also, and we're doing quite well at the moment. But again, looks absolutely stunning again on GT7. Spa, very well modelled, and yeah, it looks great. You can see we've got a group of 3 cars not too far in the distance also, so there's about a 6-7 second gap up to them. But you can see, I think an RCZ was in there. It's going to be interesting that if, I believe there was an RCZ doing fuel saving in that group there, as we've got a car that spun off, and luckily that awful rejoin, luckily the game ghosted him. Now with the current system on the game with the ghosting, we could have easily been taken out of that. But yeah, bit of a dodgy rejoin there. I think he could have rejoined at a bit better place, but we got away with that one, and we're up into P7. So not sure what's happened there. Maybe a bit of contact, not too sure what went down there, whether there was an incident, because there was 3 cars very, very close together. So we're just going to carry on driving the way we are at the moment. We need to do a little bit of fuel. You can see we've got 4.2 laps of fuel left. We're coming to the end of lap 4. We do need to get a little bit more fuel saving done to get this fuel a little bit more under control. As again, we've got the other driver there, that James Hunt, going for the move and putting himself up into P5. Now, I wasn't really concerned with how hard he's driving, because I knew 100% that he is going to need to pit. So we go for a bit of a move up the inside there. Nice little lunge up the inside and put ourselves into P6 and back right behind, as we have another car that's off the track. So another incident there. I'm not too sure what's happened. Maybe there was contact with the car up ahead, but that promotes us up to P4, and we know that this car in front of us is going to have to pit, because you can hear it in his revs. He's given that car pretty much maximum revs on the straights. He's going to really be suffering for fuel, and he's going to have to pit. So again, we're in P4, technically probably P3 at the moment, and we've got P1 quite away in the distance there. We've got quite a bit of a gap to P1, so it's going to be a challenge to catch up to P1. But as we work our way on the straight there, we can see P3 there absolutely just goes straight over the top of the curve and doesn't get a penalty. So another thing with PD, they need to get these track limits under control, because there is just parts of the track where there literally is no track limits. It's a little bit annoying. Hopefully they'll get that sorted in the future with an update or something. But coming through here, P3 makes a big mistake. Now we go to the left hand side, and they decided to back out here. I braked, let him go up the inside, because I knew he would just fire himself up the inside there, and we actually braked a little bit too aggressively, caught the curb, and just about managed to save the car, but didn't crash luckily. So still in P4. So now just making sure that we hold this car off behind us. Now I'm not sure, I think the car behind us was also going to need to pit, so we're not too worried about that car, because like I say, he's in the RCZ. The RCZ can do a no stop here, but it's not very fast, as you're going to find out a little bit later on in this race. So we're going to skip ahead now to the end of lap 5, and you're going to see the Mazda in front of me. As predicted, he's going to have to go in the pits. He goes off into the pit lane, and you can see he's hardly got any fuel left. I think he's got like 3 or 2% fuel left. We've got 35% fuel left, and that shows you why you need to do the short shifting strategy with this car, because you gain massive amounts of fuel. So up into a podium position from the back of the grid. We've got a few laps to go. We've got 3 laps to go now in this race. So working our way down the straight, and yeah, we're going to fast forward the action as we go through here. So fast forwarding all the way up the hill and onto the main straight, and then as we come through here, we're going to keep an eye on Riv's racing. I'm not sure what happens. If you look at his connection, it was very, very low. It was 1 bar, and it looks like he's been disconnected from the race. Not sure what happened there, but promotes us up to P2, and we've got an RCZ in front of us, and we know that he was doing no stops at Brands Hatch in that RCZ, but he started from P3 or P4 in this race. So it really does emphasize the point that how much slower that car is at doing the no stop strategy. I think you can do it. I reckon over a race it's probably 4 or 5 seconds slower though than the Mazda, so giving yourselves, you know, an extra 5 seconds to work with the Mazda is probably advisable, because you can push a little bit more with the fuel. But yeah, we're going to see if we can go and push now and save fuel at the same time. This is going to be difficult. You see the gap's around 3 seconds. Now, one problem we've got is we've used a little bit of fuel here and there to try and get ourselves obviously up into places, and you can see the fuel says 2.2 laps of fuel left. So in mixture free through here, this is a section where you can get away with using mixture free. Won't lose you a massive amount of time, but you do need to try and get yourself into mixture 1 as you come out of this corner for the acceleration phase and through this right hand corner here. So you can see into mixture 1 for the power section, and then just short shift it all the way up the straight, and you can see the gap still around 3 seconds. So that RCZ probably had quite a lot of slipstream at the front, and probably slipstream from fast drivers as well. So we're going to skip ahead till the end of lap 7 now. You can see we've caught up a little bit more. We've been trying to get that fuel under control on that lap 7, and we've managed to do it. We've got our fuel round about 1 lap of fuel left as we go over the line. So the fuel is extremely tight, but I know for a fact that that RCZ is going to be struggling on fuel. He's got a 3-second lead, but I was pretty confident he's going to have to do an insane amount of fuel saving on this last lap, because I know the RCZ just really struggles compared to the Mazda. Now the RCZ is probably one of the stronger cars on fuel. However, when comparing it to the Mazda, it's not really comparable. So working our way down the hill, and you can see as we come into the acceleration phase, you can see he's going to lose a little bit on acceleration now and on top speed. You can see he's obviously fuel saving. He's going to lose half a second in this one sector alone. And you can see again, I'm using mixture 2 as well, just to try and save a little bit of fuel on this main straight, because like I say, once you get into the end of the straight, mixture 2 won't lose you a massive amount of pace. And again, into mixture 3 for these corners, using them high gears as much as possible, but trying to rotate the car through the corner as well. So early upshifts into mixture 4, into gear 4 there for the exit of the corner. You can see the car getting a little bit loose at the moment, and obviously that tyre wear is kicking in with the Mazda on the rear tyres. But if you can drive it smooth, you should have no real trouble with tyre wear. Even though the tyre wear is quite high, in general, you shouldn't have too much of an issue. Hard tyres on this game are very, very strong in terms of their wear. But you can see we've already took out around about 7 temps out of him on this lap, and he's obviously having to do a lot of fuel saving. So all the way through here, again, he's run a little bit wide there, obviously trying to fuel save, and he's just lost another big chunk of time. So down to 1.2 seconds. Now, this is going to get quite intense. We're on the final section of this race, and we're 1 second behind P1, who is having to do insane fuel saving. You can see he is struggling for fuel, and he's literally going to be struggling to make it to the finish. So onto these final section, into mixture 1 now, and we're going to try and use some power out of this car. He's obviously going to try and save a bit of fuel for this section to try and keep us behind, but you can see the difference now. The gap is getting closer and closer and closer, and we're getting more and more slipstream from him. The closer you get, the more slipstream you get. So again, through here, now I decided to go quite wide and just give myself a bit of a gap. You see, I give a little bit of a lift off the throttle just to try and see the corner a bit. And now we're going to have the run. Now we're going to go through a fake on the left and then go back up the inside. And he brakes very, very late, but we managed to get the inside of our car up the inside there. He runs very wide. We're going to try and do the undercut. Now, we get the undercut done really well here, and now it's going to be a drag race to the finish, and he actually just runs out of fuel just before the finish, and we take P1. What an absolutely amazing end to that race. You can see, ran out of fuel, 3 temps behind us, and we take a very nice P1 from the back of the grid. So hopefully this guide and race that you've seen here should help you out in terms of some strategies, in terms of saving fuel with that Mazda, and hopefully we can get you some really good results if you follow some of the tips in that video. And yeah, we hopefully should have a Peugeot track guide at some point. Unfortunately, the lap I did that was in the top 10 didn't save properly on my PS5, and unfortunately the braking markers don't really match up when you watch a replay because it only shows the ABS, but I will try and get that guide out as soon as possible. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and I'll be back with more of these videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.